Welcome back to podcast with my name Eurus and with Rain.
Okay,
how
that's
are
an
you?
odd introduction.
I kind of messed this one up.
It's all good. Hello, everyone. I'm Rain, and I'm, as always, feeling pretty okay today.
Yeah, I mean, always okay here as well.
Awesome.
Today we're gonna be talking about the Short family murder, a murder that took place in 2002, where a family of three, the father was Michael Short, the mother was Mary Short, and they had the daughter Jennifer Short. All three of them were murdered by a culprit or multiple culprits. We don't really know how many people were involved in this tragedy. And there are signs of premeditation in this brutal killing case because the culprit, before they basically executed the parents and seemingly abducted the daughter, they had cut the phone lines to the residence. They also did not take any money from the house or any valuables. The only person who was missing was Jennifer, which kind of led people to suspect that maybe Jennifer was actually the main motivation behind this crime.
Yeah, just to take it out of the bat right away. Jennifer was young, right?
Jennifer was a 9-year-old girl.
Yeah, so there was no way that she would have done this, would have ran away. Let's just get it out of the way.
Definitely not. This is a premeditated murder of a seemingly very normal and just normal, happy family.
What were the parents doing? Like, what were their jobs before?
So I think Mary was a stay-at-home mom, as far as I can understand. Oh no, sorry, she also was working with Michael because Michael was a business owner. He was moving, what's the word I'm looking for? Portable homes, not portable homes, but like movable homes. What am I looking for here? What's the word? Movable homes, portable homes, one way or another. We're gonna get to this in a little bit. Now I want to tell you more about the whole story before we kind of talk about what may have happened here. On the morning of August 15th in 2002, this was a Thursday by the way, the lifeless bodies of Michael and Mary Short were found in their home. They both had sustained one single wound to the head from a gun.
Wait, one? Just like one bullet for the both of them?
No, each of them had sustained one gunshot to the head. The killer had cut the phone lines leading to the house, indicating that the murders had been premeditated. Missing from the scene was the couple's 9-year-old daughter, Jennifer. Friends and family had hoped that Jennifer somehow managed to escape this home invasion, but it soon became clear that she had been abducted by the same person responsible for the killing of her parents, suggesting that she was the main target for the attack. Several weeks after the parents were murdered, the skeletal remains of Jennifer would be discovered in a creek approximately 35 miles away from the family home in Oak Level, Virginia. Oak Level is a very small town in Virginia. Only 1,000 people live there, so you probably never heard of the place.
No, but it sounds like it's a fancy neighborhood, no? Or is it like a regular one?
I think it's a regular neighborhood from what I was able to gather. Now, she too had been shot in the head. So seems like the way the family was murdered was the same. Everyone was murdered in the same fashion. The case remains unsolved until this day, and we have no idea who the killer was. We have a few suspects and one person in particular that we're going to touch upon. And before we do that, I want to also talk to you a little bit about the family itself, the lead up to the crime. Michael Wayne Short, he was born in 52 to parents Billy and Annie. He and his first wife had 3 sons, Kenny, Tim, and MJ. One of 7 children, Mary, the other person who was murdered in this case, was born in 66. So Mary was 14 years younger than Michael. She was born in Franklin County, Virginia, to parents George and Margaret. After Michael's divorce, he began dating Mary, and the two eventually got married, and they had another child. Well, for Michael, this would be another child. Michael and Mary had Jennifer Renee Short, who was born in 1993 in Virginia. Jennifer, who was about to enter 4th grade at Fisbro Elementary School, was a sweet and cheerful girl who was close to her parents. They were very protective of Jennifer, extremely protective. That's what Frank Arrington, Michael's uncle, said. Because, it was the only daughter from their marriage, so I kind of assumed that they were very protective of Jennifer.
Yeah. Seems like nothing so far is out of the ordinary.
Yeah, from the family picture, I can see that, Jennifer seems very happy being with her parents, which makes this case very sad when you think about it. The family resided in a quiet town called Oak Level, where Michael had owned and operated a company called MS Mobile Home Movers. So it was mobile homes.
Oh, okay, got it.
You know what
now.
that is, though? Mobile homes. I'm thinking it's some sort of a small house that you could put on a truck and you could move it from one place to another. That's what's happening here.
I'm assuming more of that show, Tiny House. You know that show, right?
I know that,
where
yeah,
they have like, I don't know, truck containers, and they build a home out of it. I'm kind of assuming it's something like that, but probably not.
I doubt it.
Probably more portable.
Yeah, something like less.
Or I have an idea wherein, the extreme kind of movers, where they dig up your house and then transport it from one place to another.
I think you're probably thinking about something in the middle of these two extreme ideas.
I see.
They were known to be kind people who kept to themselves. They didn't seem to have any enemies, and that's why the way they were executed was so strange, because you have to think about why it happened. Did someone just saw Jennifer and they decided to abduct her? Or was Jennifer in the way, and when the culprits did this home invasion, they couldn't really kill Jennifer? They didn't have the heart for it. They abducted her and then they somehow kill her later.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's happening there, because seemingly no other motivation other than abducting Jennifer can be found in this case, because the money was still in the counter. There was $600 in the counter.
So it's definitely not theft or robbery.
Yes, doesn't seem like it.
Which leaves us with a bunch of different things, like, let's say, hatred.
Well, a family friend of theirs remembered that they were good people, kind of quiet, but good people. They never bothered anybody, as far as this family friend could tell. They were just down to earth, everyday people.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because Michael's business was beginning to flounder. Apparently back in the early 2000s, people were kind of not doing mobile homes anymore, at least in Virginia, seems like it. The Short family were struggling financially a little bit and had recently put their own house up for sale. Their plan was to move into a mobile home temporarily, but they hadn't done this just yet, so they were looking to sell that house, which is kind of a first, I wouldn't say clue, but a detail.
Oh, someone must have, like, maybe, I don't know, appeared as a buyer who was interested, but was actually a psychopath.
Well, we don't have information if anyone had went to check out the house, and as I understand, this was a recent thing that they had done. They hadn't put the house up for sale for like a long time prior to them being murdered, so we don't really know if anyone really went out to check it out, but I guess someone could have been potentially became aware that there was a house up for sale.
Yeah.
Now, because Michael's business was not doing that well, they were also having some sort of financial troubles. So I guess that also gives us a little bit of a detail right there. Right?
You meant to say that probably Michael borrowed money and couldn't pay it back
But then
in that kind of way.
then it would beg the question how much money, because they did have $600 in the kitchen counter. So maybe they were
Yeah.
slowly, the business was doing bad, but it was slowly going down. Maybe nothing too extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Besides, no debts or outstanding unpaid expenses had been reported.
Plus, if someone actually murdered them for money, then why would that $600 still be on that table?
A very good point. The day of August 14th, which was, I guess, the day leading up to the murders, was a Wednesday, and it was seemingly uneventful for the family. It was a very normal, everyday Wednesday for the Shorts. Chris Thompson was one of Michael's employees. Chris came over and worked on a truck with Michael up until late in the evening on the night when the family was murdered. So Chris was the last person to see the family alive. According to him, when he left, the entire family, including 9-year-old Jennifer, was still awake, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary.
Immediately, was Chris interviewed?
Yes, he was cleared.
Okay.
The last reported sighting of the family came at around 11 p.m. that evening, when they were stopped at a Burger King pickup. Where they were spotted at Burger King picking up a late night meal.
Okay, so far, once again, nothing out of the ordinary, and seems like they're not financially in debt. Or, I mean, maybe the business is not that great anymore, but they're not, for the lack of a better term that I could think of right now, broke.
Yeah, they're not desperate for money. They seem like they have just enough to kind of cover their day-to-day stuff, and Michael is still paying wages to Chris and maybe even more employees at this point. So they definitely have enough money to
something still.
Yeah, to sustain themselves at least day to day. But maybe, for the business operations, maybe Michael was already seeing that there is no future in this area for this type of a business model. So he decided to switch up. At 9 a.m. the following morning, that same guy, Chris, he arrived at the home because it was Thursday and he had to do some work for Michael. So he would just arrive as usual. He and Michael, they were supposed to go together to a nearby town of Christiansburg, and they were supposed to pick up, I think, a truck for the business, to make some sort of a business purchase for Michael. Upon entry, Chris made a shocking discovery. 50-year-old Michael was laying dead on the couch inside of the garage. Now, Michael, he would usually stay in the garage overnight. He would sleep separately from Mary, his wife, because Michael was snoring at night, and it was their usual habit to sleep separately. He had been shot in the head once with a .22 caliber weapon. Christopher frankly went in search of the rest of the family. He came across 36-year-old Mary's lifeless body. She too had been killed with a single gunshot to the head. I presume she was also in the bed. It appeared that both Michael and Mary had been murdered while they slept by someone who apparently knew the family well enough to be familiar with some of their habits, such as sleeping separately. So I have to think.
Yeah, that's true.
Who would know that the family the parents sleep separately? Who would be interested in Jennifer, a 9-year-old girl, and would also know the family well enough to know their habits? And there are some people who could do that. It's
family
friends, small community, employees, former employees, someone from Jennifer's school.
You think so?
Even law enforcement. You can't even trust law enforcement. That's what you're saying? Virginia PD?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just speculating.
All right. So it appears that we have a premeditated murder because the landline phone line was also cut. So this also is a person who goes through quite extensive length of preparation before they attempt a home invasion where they do not steal any money.
Honestly, immediately I'm assuming it's not a regular person. For example, an employee who, for some reason, for example, just there as an entry level employee would try to plan this intricate execution. It seems like someone who knows more or is capable of doing more.
Yes, it looks to me like it's someone who is who actually looks to me like this is someone who did not do this for the first time.
Yeah,
It looks
definitely.
like it was carried out, I don't know, in such a manner that makes you think this could be someone who has done this before.
Yeah, because you wouldn't know how to cut off a telephone line.
have
I
no
wouldn't
idea.
know. Even
Yeah.
if we Google it.
Yeah, I have no idea. On top of that, how do you even access the house? Now, I tried looking for this information, and I believe it was never mentioned anywhere how the culprit or multiple culprits were able to access the house.
Maybe they didn't lock it.
We could only assume, but maybe it
Yeah.
was locked. Then,
I mean, Christopher was able to go in. The employee,
maybe at that point the house was already unlocked.
perhaps.
Jennifer was missing from the house. Her bed was unmade, and her pillows, well, one of the pillows was on the floor, suggesting that she had been taken from her room. It also looked as if the bed had been moved approximately 2 inches. It was strange because I was thinking, why would the bed be moved 2 inches? I
Jennifer hanged on. Hang on.
think as someone dragged her.
Yeah, she was trying to hold on for dear life, probably. And that's why the bed moved a little bit, but she wasn't strong enough, of course.
Christopher notified the police of this horrifying discovery, and then the investigation began. So we have a clue. I don't know if you have the notes open. You probably forgot to open the notes. If you could
I'm on it.
if you could open the notes, we're gonna be, I guess, reacting to a sketch of a suspect in this case. So the first suspect in the case was actually a man who neighbors came forward and reported seeing this man. He was an unfamiliar man in a red or dark colored van or pickup truck in the vicinity of the property around 8:30 a.m. in the morning. A composite sketch of this individual, who was said to be in his 40s with a weathered complexion, was later released, and he has never been identified. So we have a sketch of a man, seems like your regular Caucasian white male, maybe in his like early 40s.
Light eyes, I'm seeing.
Light eyes, is wearing a cap, and also is wearing a button-up t-shirt.
Reminds me of a postman, actually.
Yeah, looks like a postman. Looks like someone who worked for Amazon delivering deliveries.
Yeah.
Looks like a
UPS.
yeah, looks like a delivery guy, honestly. And we think that, Jennifer could have been placed in that van. And I think this could be the case because Chris arrived at the house at 9, and this man has been reportedly seen at 8:30, so just 30 minutes before, which is kind of, I would say, a strange time to, in my opinion, to do a highly prepared home invasion. Because if you're already going to go through the trouble of cutting off phone lines, and you already studied the pattern of the family, and you know what you're going to do, why wouldn't you do this at 3 a.m. or like 2 a.m.? Why would you wait up until 4:30 a.m., which is not that early anymore? Sorry, 8:30. Did I say 4:30?
Yeah, you did.
Sorry, 8:30. Why would you wait until 8:30 in the morning to commit a crime that you so heavily about doing, and you got spotted by a bunch of neighbors? So how are you on one side so cruel and professional and cold-hearted and cold-blooded, but on the other hand you're kind of right there in the open?
I have no idea how to answer this question actually.
Yeah, neither do I. Strange.
It's just really strange.
Investigators arrived at the scene and they immediately noticed that the phone line was cut, hinting at a chilling premeditation of the crime. They also found 22 caliber shell casings near the bodies. It seemed that nothing had been stolen from the house, including the $600 cash that was still sitting on the kitchen counter, indicating that robbery was unlikely to be the motive for the killings. Law enforcement believed that Michael had been murdered first, although the medical examiner could not establish the exact time of death for either, and that both had been killed at close range. And Sheriff Frank Castle found it very strange that the killer was able to get so close to the victims. And I think this makes me think that both victims here, Michael and Mary, they were asleep as the killer approached them and shot them in the head. And I was thinking they must have been using some sort of a silencer, or somehow the weapon did not make that much of a noise.
But if they were shot in close proximity.
Just gonna get the water break, I'm sorry. Okay. Go on.
That's true. Maybe something else was used.
No, so 22 caliber. That's for sure. What are you thinking?
No, I'm thinking, how did that killer manage to kill both people within the short period of time without actually alerting anyone?
Yeah, that is a good question.
Are they living, the Short family, did they live a little bit more in the outskirts, or did they have neighbors or something?
I was not able to find the house.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
We have some pictures though in a bit that we could look at. Okay, so going forward in this case, eerily the words "I'm glad to see," remember 4 words, "I'm glad to see," had been written on the garage window, but it is unclear if this was related in any way to the case, to the killings.
That's just creepy.
I'm glad to see. Yeah, it was just something weird, I guess, written on the garage door, but we don't know if it was inside or outside, and we don't know if it's connected to the case or not.
Yeah, that's just creepy because this is the kind of clue that you actually don't know if it's related or not, because it could be a random thing. Someone from the family could have written it down. Someone, maybe Chris, also wrote it down, maybe not. Didn't mention anything about it.
What would it mean though?
Glad to see you. Maybe Jennifer.
Oh.
Yeah, Jennifer, the little girl. Maybe
I'm glad to see you.
Yeah, writing
Jennifer.
Something. Oh my gosh, that's really creepy.
You know what I mean? Like I'm glad to see
Oops.
you. Yeah.
I was thinking of something completely innocent. Like maybe Jennifer writing to her dad, "I'm glad to see you, Dad. Never really got to finish it as a kid."
Oh, that also
back.
could be the case. That could also be the case.
Right?
I'm glad to see. Yeah, that could be the
It
case.
could also be something really sinister, like what you mentioned.
Yeah.
Whew, that was creepy.
An extensive search for Jennifer began. Hundreds of miles were covered with ATVs, dogs, and the helicopter. Searches on foot and horseback looked everywhere for Jennifer. Additionally, a nearby lake was searched as well as a pond close to the home. Now, no clues as to the whereabouts of Jennifer Short were found. and the anxiety of her surviving family members started to increase. Frank, Michael's uncle, made a public plea for the child's safe return, even suggesting that her captor drop her off at a Walmart or any other 24-hour store, but weeks would go by with no signs of the missing child. In an effort to discern the motive for the murders, law enforcement spent 2 weeks searching the Short home and ultimately removed hundreds of pieces of evidence, including tax returns, clothing, a 22 caliber revolver, a 12-gauge shotgun and cell phone, and unspecified items of sexual nature.
Okay.
And Sheriff Cassell said that anytime you have a child abducted, you've got to assume it may have something to do with the sexual nature.
Definitely.
But it's strange. What did they remove from the family home that was of sexual nature? Was it something that the culprit left behind, or was it there all along? What does that mean?
I don't think the culprit left behind anything. It seemed like an in and out thing.
Yeah, but what is that item of sexual nature?
Mom and dad's? Maybe it's not even related to this tragedy.
Yeah, what is this? You know what I mean?
We need more clarification.
Yeah,
in
I
regards to
never,
this.
I never really understood what he meant that he had removed an item of sexual nature. I don't know. It seems like a pretty serious clue that was just never explained, or maybe something that police wants to keep a secret.
Right. It's pretty odd.
It's unclear if any of these items that were obtained proved helpful to the investigation. While some people wondered if the murders were motivated by a desire for revenge against Michael or Mary, others felt that circumstances strongly suggested that young Jennifer herself was the main target of the attack. The home didn't have an internet connection and hadn't had one for 2 years, which minimized the chances of Jennifer having met a predator online. Also, she was 9. I'm not sure how much 9-year-olds back in the early 2000s were using internet. Maybe they were, but definitely not where I'm from.
No, barely, actually.
Her friends were interviewed as well, but this didn't produce any relevant information for law enforcement.
If we're going with the abduction obsession theory, whoever that culprit was, probably saw Jennifer and was just stalking her all along.
And somehow became aware that the parents slept separately.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow learned the habits of the family. An incident in Mary's past soon led investigators down another avenue of speculation. Something interesting happened in Mary's life 10 years prior.
10 years?
10
it's
years
a long
prior.
time, though.
92. She was working as a seamstress for Pluma Incorporated. Mary was a subject of stalking behavior at her workplace because several times a strange man who visited the company and he angrily demanded to see Mary. He didn't work there and was escorted out of the building. Interestingly, Mary never went to police and never reported this incident and never obtained a protective order against this strange man who, in 92, was angry at her.
Okay, now this is getting spookier.
I assume this is maybe before. Let me check. Was this before Michael and Mary were together? I'm trying to find this information.
Okay, while you're trying to find that information, I'm just curious. If this was the same guy, if this was the same culprit, I meant, why wait 10 years?
Really quickly to step in. So we know that Jennifer was born in 93 and this happened in 92. So I think it's pretty safe to say that Michael and Jennifer were together by that.
Yeah.
That's my estimation here, is that they were together. So as Michael and Mary were already together, someone went into Mary's work on several occasions and were angry at Mary. Could this have been like a former boyfriend. And if Jennifer was born in 93 and these things were happening in 92, at
She
this
was already
point,
pregnant.
she
Mary
could-
was
sh-
already pregnant.
Well, Jennifer was born in 93 July. So that's at least 7 months into 92. I mean, depends. It really depends at what time in 92.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? But at this point, Mary was close to being pregnant.
It's either pregnant or close to being pregnant.
Exactly.
But happily together with Michael.
Yeah, and at the very most, she would be pregnant for like 2 months. So probably wouldn't even be showing.
But why wait 10 years though? If this is the same culprit, why wait 10 years? Maybe Mary managed to hide herself that well?
I mean, seems like anything is possible in this case.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, back from a break, a very well needed water break.
Yeah?
Okay.
Ready to jump back?
Yeah, I'm ready to go back into the details of this gruesome case. So, we don't know. This is what the sheriff said. We don't know if Mary was stalked per se, but we know that someone at one time or another was angry with her in 92, which is kind of strange. We don't know who it was or what it was about. The two persons who escorted this unidentified man from Mary's workplace, they also did not know who this person was. So a seemingly random person that no one knows about. So Mary must have known this person, this mystery man from 10 years ago.
Definitely, but maybe not.
You think it's not related?
I'm not even sure, but I find it odd that no one knew about this guy other than Mary. Mary must have had friends, family members, colleagues who probably asked, like, who was this guy?
Well, here comes the theory. Because Jennifer was born the following year, law enforcement first theorized that that mystery man may have been the real father. That would mean that Michael was not the real father of Jennifer, and that he eventually killed Michael and Mary, and this was done out of desperation to take back Jennifer, because in this line of thinking, he is the biological father of Jennifer. To test this theory, Michael's body was exhumed to further DNA analysis, and it turned out that Michael was in fact Jennifer's biological father. So this potential lead ended up being another dead end.
Or it could also be the other way around. Maybe the stalker, whoever he was, assumed that he was Jennifer's biological dad and had the delusion all along that Jennifer was his.
Yeah,
But then again,
that's also a line of thinking that we could have.
yeah, but then again, Jennifer ended up also getting killed. So that theory doesn't make much sense. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm also not buying that theory. And law enforcement already ruled out that line of thinking, so I'm also gonna rule it out for myself. In October of 2002, approximately 6 weeks after Michael and Mary Short were found murdered, Jennifer's remains were located in a creek in Stoneville, North Carolina, around 35 miles away from her home. The discovery was made by law enforcement after a local resident alerted police when his two dogs brought him bones, including a piece of human skull.
Can you imagine? Sorry, out of topic, but can you imagine you're just walking your dogs one day and then they went back with human skull? It'd be
Yeah, it's pretty
terrifying.
strange. As I understand, maybe this was a person that had a big property, and his dogs would just roam around.
Yeah, but
And
still
they started bringing him weird stuff one day.
crazy.
It
But
was
yeah, sorry.
no
35 miles away.
30 miles away and in a different state, because this is already North Carolina. First we were talking about Virginia, and now we're talking about North Carolina. I guess this is on the edge of the state lines.
So Jennifer was definitely abducted then.
Yeah, and moved 35 miles south
Now my question
from
is,
Bassett, Virginia to Stoneville, NC.
yeah, my question is, do you think she was abducted and then murdered? Or do you think there's a chance or a possibility that she was kept alive for a certain period of time?
You know, that's exactly what law enforcement was trying to figure out. And let me get back to you on this one, because this is a very good question. We have a little bit information about this. It was concluded that Jennifer had sustained a single gunshot wound to the head, just as her parents had. Due to the advanced state of decomposition of her remains, her time of death could not be determined, nor could any abuse that she may have suffered prior to being killed. So we don't really know exactly what she had been through after she was abducted from her home.
Jeez.
Now, from early on in the investigation, police had several persons of interest. There were several people that they were looking at, which I found kind of interesting, but no solid evidence that made any of them stand out. We have some people that we're looking strongly at, but we have no concrete evidence, said Sheriff Cassell. He also said that we're looking at anyone, to be honest, but we're looking more strongly at certain individuals.
Okay.
So they are hyper focusing on a few guys, seems like, or women, but I'm just assuming it was men that they were looking at. Now, Chris Thompson, do you remember Chris Thompson? Mm-hmm. The guy
The employee?
The employee.
The last person who has seen the family?
He was ruled out
Okay.
as a suspect. Michael, on the other hand, had numerous employees over the years, and many of them were transients looking for short-term work. These laborers would often stay at a hotel down the road from the Short residence during their time working for Michael Short. Could one of these men have been the perpetrator? Well, someone who had had access to the family for a time, perhaps to get to know them a little, will learn the habits. And seems like this is my line of thinking, that, yeah, because who else? Someone who was working for the family may have seen Jennifer. Maybe they got obsessed with Jennifer because they were a creep, and they committed this crime. Maybe after they already stopped working for Michael some time ago. What do you think? Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah, honestly, that could be the case, but this one's pretty tough because it's gonna be harder to trace them.
Oh, that's a very good point, because these workers came and went with regularity, authorities found it challenging to locate some of them for questioning,
Yeah.
which is terrible, because I feel like any one of them could have been the culprit.
Or could have had an idea on who might be the culprit. But because we didn't have any records.
But law enforcement also said that Michael had more occasional employees as well, that were kind of repeat clients
Yeah.
for work, if you know what I mean. They kept on working. Would work for Michael's business for a bit, and then they would stop for some time. And this brings us to our one and only named person of interest,
Okay.
who has since been cleared. But honestly, I don't understand his whole story, and it's still kind of interesting in my opinion. But he has been cleared, so just FYI. We're going to be talking about Garrison Bowman.
Oh, okay. It's a new character, I see.
Have you seen his image? It's in the notes. Take your time. I'll tell you more about it about him while you search for this guy's picture. He honestly, kind of to me, looks like he could do a Santa Claus in a mall type of vibe.
Okay, well, that's immediately creepy.
Yeah. Investigators would get a first break in the case when a promising lead materialized. According to a tip, a carpenter named Garrison Bowman, who was 66 at the time of the murders, allegedly harbored a grudge against Michael Short and had told someone that he might have to kill a man in Virginia who had failed to move his mobile home even after Bowman had already paid them for this job. So immediately,
Ooh, this is pretty bad for this guy.
immediately looks very suspicious.
Really suspicious.
Notably, Jennifer's remains had turned up approximately 1 mile away from the property of a friend of Bowman's where his mobile home was located at the time. Very bad, again, for Garrison Bowman. His landlord also claimed to have witnessed Garrison Bowman with a pistol on the day after the murders had taken place. Bowman, who had fled to Canada on the same day of the murders, also
How
really
convenient.
bad. Yeah, also very bad, was eventually extradited to the United States where he was held on charges related to a violation of immigration laws and drunk driving. He appeared before a grand jury in Virginia on November 12th, but no indictment was returned, so they did not indict him for the crimes committed to the Short family. So at that point, probably law enforcement did not have enough evidence. And there was nothing concrete to tie Bowman to the murders, who reportedly had a solid alibi. We do not know what his alibi was, but it was good enough for law enforcement not to indict him in the murders. In 2007, 5 years after the murders had taken place, authorities finally revealed that he was no longer considered a person of interest in the investigation, and that the men who had implicated him had fabricated a story hoping to collect the reward money. According to the U.S. Attorney John Bowman, these individuals... Oh, sorry, not John Bowman, John Brownlee, sorry. Kind of just derailed this whole thing so badly. So according to a U.S. Attorney John Brownlee, not Bowman. Bowman is the bad guy, allegedly, but probably not. So John Brownlee says that these individuals who implicated Bowman, well, they told law enforcement that they'd spotted Bowman leaving the Short home on the night of the killings, carrying a young girl. This was apparently the story around which investigators had attempted to build the case against Garrison Bowman. These men would go to be convicted of pre-jury and providing false information to law enforcement, leading to their incarceration. To date, Garrison Bowman has been the only suspect ever officially named in the case that continues to evade resolution.
Okay, so from the way I understand it, there were men who said that they have seen Bowman, Garrison Bowman, leaving the Short family home on the night of a killing with a young girl. But this was proven wrong. But what about the other information?
And we have some more information on this report on Bowman. Just give me a moment.
Of course.
So, because I went through all the sources I could find actually on this case, and there was some more information on our guy, Garrison Bowman. One second. Yes, found it. Okay, so this is some more information that I was able to find on our person of interest, Garrison Bowman. A Monroe County native and uncle of a Paradise Township supervisor is one of the 4 suspects in the case of the murders of the Short family. So there's 4 suspects in total, and we're going to be talking about Garrison Bowman, who was 66. He was questioned by FBI about the murder of Michael Short and Mary Short, and Bowman was a carpenter Sorry, I'm kind of skimming past some of this information that I already told. Trust me, no one wants to right now listen to me read the same info that I just read like 10 minutes ago. So
Hang in there.
no. Oh yeah, hang in to the listeners. I'm sorry, this is kind of bad right now. Okay, so here we go. Bowman's nephew, a Paradise Township supervisor, John Bowman, so the nephew, you know what I mean?
So wait, Garrison Bowman has a nephew.
Yeah, has a nephew called John Bowman. Said his uncle could prove his innocence. He said it's difficult when a member of your family is wanted in any way, shape, or form for a horrific incident like this. You want them cleared, but if it's true, he's going to have to do his time. I don't think he's capable of doing it, but to hear that he's implicated, that's tough. I hope he can clear himself if he has an alibi. If he can clear himself, that's wonderful. And if he can't, he'll have to pay. So even like his nephew is like, I hope he didn't do it. Yeah, I hope he didn't do. Even his nephew is like, I hope he didn't do it. But if he did it, well, then he's gonna have to pay. That's kind of a strange thing to say.
That actually did not help in any way, shape, or form.
No, that didn't help.
What was that, man?
Garrison Bowman. This did not help Garrison at all.
Or the short family murders. Like what?
Yeah, all I'm gonna say is that
What does he mean?
The way the nephew said this, I mean, if because you know, if you're a good guy, if you're like a stand-up guy, surely the nephew is gonna be like, oh no, there's no way, my uncle is the best person of all time.
Yeah, I don't think he's capable of doing this.
Yeah, but the nephew said that I don't think he's capable, but if he did it, then he'll have to pay.
He sounds like when I was a kid and my mom asked me did I do my homework. And I'd be like, maybe I did, and if I did, it's good. Maybe I didn't, and if I didn't, I will do it. Something like that. Like, there's no concrete answer.
Oh, yeah. That's very bad on John Bowman's part. But now we have some more information about how this whole implication of Garrison took place. So, Garrison Bowman, he became a suspect after his landlord, I don't know who this guy was, called law enforcement 3 days after the murders, and told them that he'd suddenly fled to Canada.
Suddenly.
Yeah.
So
suddenly,
no plans at all.
no, but what he left behind was kind of strange. Allegedly, Garrison Bowman left a map on which the location of the Shorts' home was marked. The landlord also told authorities that Bowman said he might have to kill a man who failed to move his mobile home after being paid to do so. So this
Well, there we go.
but this is fake because the landlord fabricated this. We know that the landlord was faking this
Oh, I see.
because they needed reward money.
Well, that's effed up.
Because how stupid would you be to leave a map marked with the Short family home and would tell your landlord, I'm gonna kill someone in Virginia? It's the same as me telling my landlord, I'm gonna have to kill someone in Latvia, and then someone
Or like
died.
leaving a diary.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to kill someone in Latvia, and then I would even mark that place,
Or maybe write down the exact address.
exact address, yeah, and just leave it.
Hanging
Leave
around
it.
in there.
Yeah.
Like out in the open. Yeah,
No,
it's pretty bad.
It's bizarre. So it to me seems like a clear fabrication.
But it's still pretty sad for Garrison, though. Because he was framed.
Yeah, well, Garrison, we have some more information. Friends said that they can't understand how someone like Garrison could potentially do the crime. And get a load of this information on Garrison right here. He would consume a case of Bush beer each day. Bush beer is like a brand. It's like the biggest brand in America, apparently.
Ooh, never tried that before. Have you tried it?
No, never. He would consume a case a day. He could have driven to and how could he have driven to Virginia in the midnight or after, cut the family's telephone lines outside their house, shoot them in their beds, then take the daughter, wipe clean the crime scene, and return to his home and resumed his normal routine the next day. He would apparently get up by 5 a.m., drink 2 cups of coffee, and his friend Danny Sizemore said that by 7 o'clock in the morning, he already started working on his beer. He wakes up, he has a coffee at 5, but by 7 a.m. in the morning, he already starts boozing.
Okay, so far from what we know about his daily routine, I don't think he did it.
And on top of that, Mr. Sizemore, the friend, said that he was with Bowman all day on August 14th,
there we go.
the night of the murders, and said that they had been drinking beer all day long and that Bowman was ready to sleep by the time Mr. Sizemore left his home that afternoon, and he was in no shape to go anywhere. He was apparently like messed up on beer. So after reading that, I kind of started looking at that. I kind of looked at Bowman again, looked at his like appearance, and yeah, I could just see him being like a carpenter who really likes to drink beer.
Yeah.
And that he had some migration problems in Canada. Now, why would he flee to Canada, you might ask? That's kind of weird. On the day when the family was murdered, apparently he was going there to look for a mobile home to buy.
Oh.
Still a pretty strange way.
Is it cheaper in Canada?
I have no idea, but you would think that you would probably find something better than going to Canada from Virginia.
Yeah.
And apparently he was drunk driving somewhere also, and he even messed up with the immigration laws. I could see this Garrison Bowman as just being a guy who would just drink like a case of beer, just go to Canada. You probably have to fill out some sort of like immigration documents. This guy has no idea what's happening. He's just, I'm looking for my mobile home in Canada. And then some landlord who probably wants to make some money just quickly implicated him.
Or probably hated him.
Probably hated him for the
craziness.
all night drinking booze out sessions or whatever, if that was the case. So apparently we don't know anything more about Garrison Bowman. What do you think about this guy? Like to kind of put this one in the bed. Do you think that Garrison Bowman had something to do with the murders?
Honestly, at first I was convinced that he did it, but it seems like everyone is out to get him with all these fake stories, and I don't know, his nephew being very shady, not really saying anything concrete. Yeah, at first I was convinced it was this guy, but as we learned more about his habits and more about him, it kind of seems like he was not actually capable, or maybe
at
even
least
sober enough to
on the day.
Yeah, on that day to commit that crime.
We do know that Garrison Bowman passed away in 2014, so rest in peace, Garrison. I don't think that you murdered.
Yeah.
I don't think he's involved. Honestly, we don't know because he's still like a person of interest, but from the situation here, it looks like he might be innocent. Also, what happened was that the short residence was auctioned off on December 7th of that same year, but it had been vacant for most of the time until it burnt up mysteriously in 2019.
2019.
17 years later.
Okay.
It was burnt down mysteriously.
Okay, due to the time, the gap, I could be convinced it was an accident.
Unrelated?
Yeah, unrelated.
So doesn't look like that, like it was much of an accident, because at the scene, fire department noticed a gas can.
Drug related.
Recovered at the scene, so looks like it was burnt on purpose. And even one of the family members of the surviving family member said, "How does a house catch on fire? We didn't have a storm. There was no electricity in the house for a month. They've cleaned it up quickly. So it seems to me that something is trying to be hid." That's what Michael's sister Carolyn said. But law enforcement did not connect the mysterious fire of the short residence to the case. Yeah.
I don't think it's related somehow. Mainly because of the gap. Why wait 17 years to burn a vacant house? Why not do it a month after? If you're trying to hide something, trying to burn the evidence, why wait such a long time? Although I'm pretty
on
convinced.
top of that, let's remember that so many pieces of evidence had already been removed from the house, and the house has been bought by someone, probably contaminated already. You know what I mean? There was nothing to hide in that house.
17 years.
No, and at the time when it was auctioned off, there was nothing to be discovered there. It was already hundreds of items were removed for DNA testing.
Immediately, I'm assuming it's somehow drug related.
And this is where I kind of want us to talk a little bit about the house itself, because it might paint a picture. Now, if you could go back to the notes, I was able to find pictures of the house. Now, I was never able to find the location of the house in Bassett, Virginia, but we have pictures that were posted on articles. And we have pictures of the fire as well. So to me, the house looks like an extended one-story building with a garage. And within that garage, I assume Michael was sleeping. And what do you see? What can you tell me about the house? Does anything stand out to you? Immediately, I'm thinking, what are the points of entry that you see? Because we're going to be showing these images on the YouTube channel as always. But I'm thinking, do you see any possible entrances into the house? Because it's looking like it has a lot of windows though. The first thing that stands out to me, it has a ton of windows on every side.
Yeah.
Maybe the windows were the entry.
Yeah,
or
if you're
the
looking
access.
for a point of entry, you have the windows.
We have the windows, right? And then we also have the pictures of the fire. So it does look really bad. And apparently no one really lived in that house during the time when it was vacant. Yep.
Honestly, for me, a house that has been abandoned for 17 years, no one has lived there for 17 years, burned down because of what? A canister? A gasoline?
Yeah.
I don't know. It screams like someone, maybe a homeless person, was staying there for a night. Maybe some druggies were having a blast there, having a party. Accidental fire happened and it burned down.
Okay, and we also want to mention that Israel Keys, a notorious serial killer, may have had some sort of a connection, some people believe, to the Short family murders.
I mean, I can't blame them because there are a lot of similarities with how the way Short family was murdered, and a couple of his other victims
Had similar premeditation.
Yeah. So if you would remember correctly, sorry, he murdered Bill and Lorraine, courier of Essex in Vermont. He apparently broke into their home on the night of June 8th, 2011, and he did what he called the blitz attack. He basically cut off their phone line and entered their home. And then he shot Bill with a .22 caliber.
Which is the same caliber as the shell casings that were found in the Short family home.
Mm-hmm. Pretty interesting, right? Although he did say that he claimed that he did not kill any children or parents of children because of his daughter. And however, if you would look at his history, he did kill a lot of men, women, and children. So I really don't hold
children
on to what
also? Oh, his last victim.
Samantha
Koenig. I think she was only 18, so she was very young.
Yeah, not as young as Jennifer Short. However, It did seem that he killed some children.
What do we know about Israel Keys in 2002?
2001, the year prior that, it was assumed that his killing spree started again.
Yeah, it seems like he also got discharged from the military.
And he also had a daughter.
And also had a daughter in 2001. But he was residing in Washington State at this point, which is almost like on the other side of the United States.
But I honestly wouldn't put it past him to drive all the way
or fly.
there. Yeah, fly. Have a trip there.
Yeah, I was looking at the Israel Keys timeline, the timeline that is known about him, and I think 2002 is actually a gray area as far as I was able to like see online. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of information about what he was doing in 2002, because we know that there were some disappearances of people that could be attributed to Israel Keys in 2001, but I don't think anyone really is attributing anything that much in 2002, as much as I can tell.
Yeah, that's true. But there are also some victims that were never identified.
Also, I don't know if you mentioned, but the murders that you talked about that were attributed to Israel Keys in 2011.
The Blitz attack.
The Blitz attack. Did he cut off the phone lines as well?
Yes, he did at first, and then he went inside the house wearing a headlamp and shot the father, Bill, with a .22 caliber gun. He did strangle the mother, or the woman.
Yeah.
However, I don't know, it seems eerily similar to how the Short family was murdered.
Yeah.
It probably was not him, although there might be a chance that it was him due to the similarities. What do you think?
I think that when we're thinking about the Short family murders, we probably assumed that Jennifer was abducted, and at least it always seemed to me that she was held captive for some time. So that would mean that Israel Keys would have to also somehow, I guess, live in Virginia and North Carolina for the time being.
Oh yeah, that's true. However, I do remember Israel Keys abducting little girls and keeping them for a while, no?
That is true. Another thing oh, really?
Here.
No.
Sorry.
I don't remember this one.
In 1998, Cassie Emerson was another young girl, one of many, from Colville area who was reported missing after her mother's Marlene's remains were discovered in their burnt-out trailer home, and Cassie's remains were found in 98, 13 miles from her home. I don't know.
And is Israel Keys attributed to that murder?
Yes.
Well, that's...
Well, he did not admit in killing the girl, but he admitted on committing arson in the trailer home.
For that particular trailer home, or
Yeah.
or is it just suspected that he...
He admitted. He admitted that he set a trailer home on fire, killing the mom, but he did not admit on killing the girl. But what are the odds?
Okay. Because I was thinking that maybe he only admitted to setting arson, but he didn't admit to any particular arson. He just said that I committed my first arson.
True, yeah.
I didn't know that he was admitting to that particular arson that killed the mother.
But it's very interesting. I don't know, because when you first told me about the Short family murders, it seemed really familiar, like the way the family was murdered, and I was like, okay, it seemed really familiar, and I kept on thinking about it. I'm like, okay, bingo, Blitz attack, Israel Keys. I looked up into it. Similar.
Yeah, for me, the cutting of the phone lines definitely seems strange, and yeah, getting access to the house, cutting off the phone lines, seems like a lot of work.
And he also pre-planned it, the murder in 2011.
Yeah.
So I don't know, eerily similar.
Yeah.
But maybe not. Maybe it could be someone else. Maybe for just some random coincidence, the way the Short family were killed is pretty similar to how some victims of Israel were killed.
For me, it just seems that
A little too far-fetched.
no, I think the thing that makes me think that it's not Israel Keys is that Jennifer was abducted, and I believe she was held captive for some time. And as I understand, Israel Keys had recently become a father, and he had his own family in Washington State. So I don't think that
He was capable of doing that at the moment.
at the moment to spend so much time away in Virginia and North Carolina. And on top of that, he would have had to learn, in theory, the patterns of the Short family. He would have had to settle down basically in Virginia for a while, somehow befriend the Short family.
Not necessarily. He could have just, like, I don't know, sat in front of their house.
That is true. And actually, when you think about it, the man that has been seen outside of the Short family, remember the sketch?
However, yeah, it doesn't look like anything like Israel Keys.
I was gonna say something on the contrary. It could
Really?
be Israel Keys. It looks like a white man with a withered complexion. But in his 40s, the man seen early in the morning in the Short, parked in a van next to the Short family residence, was in his 40s. And now I'm trying to figure out how old Israel Keys was in 2002. Give me just a second. So Israel Keys was born in 78. So by 2002, Israel Keys would have been 24. So
Way too young.
So he would, but I'm also thinking, could he somehow disguise himself to look older? But once again, just because no one really... I mean, honestly, back in 2002, no one really knew who Israel Keys was anyway, so I don't think anyone remembers seeing him in that town.
Yeah, that's true, but I wouldn't really put it past him. He could have disguised himself. He was smart.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Creepily smart.
I think so. I think, and he had the know-how to infiltrate a house and commit such a murder. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Also, it could be someone from the police. I did see some Reddit threads claiming that the police is it Virginia?
Yeah, Virginia.
During
Well, it's in the
that particular area.
city. Yeah, in the city.
Not in Virginia per se, just like in that particular area.
We're talking about Bassett, Virginia.
Yeah. I read that they're not as honest, or I don't know.
In Bassett, in particular? Really? You found
Yeah,
it?
I read a couple of comments saying that the police there are kind of corrupt and shady.
Oh, really?
Back then in 2002. And I don't know, the way the murders were executed, it was pre-planned. I don't think a regular person could have done it. Someone from, like, I don't know, a military background or knows more something, maybe carpentry, maybe even a telephone guy.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't know how to cut off telephone lines in the first place. I bet you also wouldn't know.
No, I have no idea how to do that.
Yeah, even if we Google it. And 2002, Google is not much of use yet.
Yeah, good point. So, circling back now, Israel Keys could be connected. We do know that there's a podcast called, I think, True Crime XS. And on their episode about, I think, Israel Keys or the Short family, I don't know. I didn't actually find that particular episode. But I just know that allegedly they make a really good case for Israel Keys being the culprit for the Short family murders, but I think there are things that rule him out, in my opinion, just because the man seen at the residence, or like parked outside of the residence, seemed a bit older.
Yeah.
Also seems like this person would have to stay. To me, this seems like it was committed by someone who was from the area, or at least has been staying in Bassett, Virginia for some time.
I think staying for some time, not from the area permanently, because otherwise people would know the guy.
Yeah, exactly. But someone who somehow maybe
Stay there a little longer than usual.
I'm thinking maybe someone who got to know the Short family, just to learn the patterns that Michael was sleeping separately from Mary. So going back now, who would you say you're leaning towards? I'm kind of thinking that, it's so hard to say, but I find it interesting the line of thinking that maybe it could have been someone who had worked for Michael in the past.
Yeah, me too.
But wasn't working at that particular moment anymore, but had seen Jennifer. And for some reason, he was a creep, couldn't stop thinking about Jennifer.
Or maybe he just hated the Short family that much.
Maybe some sort of like business situation that didn't go well.
And wanted to extract revenge.
Exactly, because Michael was in contact with a lot of people that came and went. So who knows, actually. It could have been anyone from his contacts.
It could have been someone he met years ago. Could have been someone he met a day ago.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I think this is where we should probably wrap up.
And ask the audience, who do you guys think killed the Short family?
Yeah, what do you guys think? And we will catch you on the next episode. Thank you very much for listening to our podcast, and please stay safe. And
stay healthy.
Stay healthy, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.